Let's get to Rick Santelli for his take of the CME in Chicago.
Thank you, Simon, but maybe my take is partially changing because of your take. You know, when Simon makes a statement, and believe me, he could be 100% correct, that based on the way stocks are trading in today's 175,000, it doesn't look like there's any taper coming. But how do we know that? We really don't. And that is really one of the issues, is the uncertainty involved in managing markets versus true signals of operating markets. But everybody is, I have to tell you, everybody is going bonkers on this trading floor. They haven't stopped talking about the report. Not the U.S. report. The Canadian jobs report. That is really the talk of the town. And I'll tell you why. First of all, remember, Canada has about 34 million people. So anything we deal with regarding Canada, and we've been down this road before, you have to kind of multiply by 10 to make it an apples and apples equivalent to the U.S. So what happened in Canada today? Well, they were going to look for 15,000 jobs. What did they end up with? They ended up with 95,000 jobs and an unemployment rate of 7.1%. So to make it apples to apples, 95,000 becomes 950,000. Boy, we haven't had a number like that since, I believe, in the Reagan administration. We had a million job creation in 1 month. But I think this really says a lot. Now let's go back to our number in Simon's comments. Listen, I don't know that any discussion is settled, but I can tell you a couple of things that are very much unsettled. And the first is our cash-in hit on it this morning. I've hit on it many times. Mr. Fisher from the Dallas Fed 2.5 weeks ago when he was on hit it. And everybody here knows is that they've pretty much exhausted the supply. They buy more than the supply sometimes in the secondary market in terms of primary issuance on mortgages. When they buy treasuries, they're basically buying what was auctioned just a handful of days ago. It's more like there isn't enough. Art's right. And the unintended consequences. Next week, we're going to be talking to John Brady, the repo market. There's so many things where there's unintended consequences. But more than anything, I like Simon's comment because we all have a GPS in our car, right? Or most of us do. What's the two variables that make GPS work? When you want a direction, when you want to have knowledge about where you're going, the two things you need are where you are and where you want to go. Well, I think the Fed pretty much knows where it wants to go, but nobody knows where we are. And I just think it makes the equation seem a little bit ridiculous, in my opinion. Now, let's take another issue. And this is the one, people. Cause effect, cause effect. You know, just because things are getting better means that some of these programs may or may not be working. I have a tree in the yard. Here's the way a normal tree trunk should be. When we were putting Christmas lights on it about 3 years ago, I tied it with these things to hold the lights on. And now when I look at this tree, it's got this little thing right here where that tie was. The tree's still growing. It's not growing as good as it could be. If you drop a flagstone on your perennial, it's going to come back next year. But none of these are going to be as efficient. Animal spirits are good, but don't confuse it with the outcome of some of these Fed programs. Back to you, Kelly.
Rick, it's like the play-by-play. We're going to get you one of those screens like they have on ESPN. I love it.
No, we don't want a screen. We're old school here. Old school.
No, then you need chalk and a chalkboard, not this dry erase business, Rick.
I like old school. I wish the Fed liked it better as well.
Rick Santelli in Chicago. Thank you, sir.